Right, back live with you tonight, and thanks so much for staying on with In Focus. The new Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Sihle Zikalala, conducted an oversight visit to the Beitbridge border post of entry, along with the Limpopo River ahead of the Easter weekend. On his radar was the controversial and flawed 40-kilometer fence along the borderline outside Musina in Limpopo. The minister is joining us to expand a little bit on what he saw on the ground. Kuzeni, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time this evening. The reports that we know, of course, from your predecessor is that, one, the border post, or at least the fencing, was costly, it was poorly constructed, and was actually beginning to deteriorate. Can you confirm this? What is the extent of the damage that you saw?
Indeed, the fence was of a poor quality. The whole project was not properly conceptualized. The greater part of the area that was earmarked for the fence has no fence because people have vandalized the fence. And therefore it tells you that the fence that was there was not fit for purpose. And that's why we went there to look and check for ourselves as we mandated, and we continue to engage with relevant department to say, if we are to reconceptualize this project, we maybe need them to lead us, especially the Department of Defense, in conceptualizing the kind of a fence that will be suitable for that area. But we are also insisting that those who are involved are not going to be left unattended. There must be consequences, and consequence management is one critical thing that we're not going to compromise on. We're grateful to the Special Investigating Unit for the work they've done there, and for the taking the matter to the tribunal, where it has been ruled that at least a minimum of 14 million must be returned to the state. We know that the two companies involved have appealed that judgment. We would stand firm in defense of that judgment. But also internally, we continue to deal with disciplinary cases relating to this matter. But our visit to the border was not just about this fence alone, but was also to check on the point of entry, which is the biggest in Africa, the Beitbridge border gate, to ensure that as we move toward the Easter period, all departments that are there have everything they need from us as public works to ensure that they work smoothly and all plans are according, and we provide them sufficient facilities that they will need.
So it's a little bit of a collaborative effort, I would imagine, between Public Works and the Department of Home Affairs, who, of course, take the responsibility of border management, you taking the responsibility of providing them with the necessary infrastructure. Do you still believe in the effectiveness of putting up a fence there in that particular border?
Look, I wouldn't want to conclude on that issue because that is the responsibility of the Border Management Authority, which is an entity which is a standalone but under the umbrella of Home Affairs. But also the Department of Defense must also be engaged in that feasibility study to ensure that we are conclusive that we do need a fence or not. What I can say is that there is a need of controlling the manner in which people come into the country. If you will go there, you will see that there are cars that are transported from South Africa to Zimbabwe. And obvious, those cars are transported illegally because they use the routes that are not permitted. But also there are people who are flocking from those countries, from that country to South Africa. Thirdly, you run a risk of counterfeit goods that will then be transported into South Africa. The last point is that fugitive may run to any country if we don't have a control measures for people to come in and out of South Africa. So there is a need to tighten the control of people who comes to the country and those who goes out in the country. But in terms of the border fence, we think it should be the Department of Defense that leads us, and then we follow in terms of conceptualizing the kind of fence or the system of security they would suggest for that bill.
Yeah. One of the other suggestions that was being touted about was the addition of surveillance cameras and sensor alarms onto that particular fence. Is that something that you're still pursuing?
Yes, we are pursuing, but we are saying all of those initiatives should be integrated into the integrated security management plan, which we think the Department of Defense, SAPS, Home Affairs are best placed to collaborate and lead us. Then as the delivering department, we will be able to construct what they need.
So you've already touched on the delivery, as you put it, and the other arm and wing of what you're doing is accountability. So the court case being challenged at the moment, internally, what has happened to those officials who were suspended?
Well, a majority of them, there were 13 who were suspended, others were disciplined, and I think the cases that were left are of few who are senior, who were at a senior level. 2 of them have left the department, and therefore we can't pursue them in relation to this issue. And secondly, other 2 are still going through the disciplinary process.
And how long? I mean, there's a sense that some of these disciplinary processes, they can go on for years without being completed while the said individuals continue to earn a salary from government.
Yes, that's why they are not placed in suspension, but they've been moved to other tasks. And we want to ensure that they get, we push for speedy trials or disciplinary hearings. We know that in some cases they will try to avert and delay the process, but we'll try by all means to ensure that we ensure that disciplinary processes are fast-tracked.
And to what extent then are you engaging in the repair of the fence now that it is damaged?
We are not going to proceed with the repair of the fence on the basis that we would want to pursue an integrated and a comprehensive plan that the Department of Defense and Home Affairs would have investigated as a suitable plan for border management.
So at this point, again, not necessarily within your mandate, but I suppose having been at the border and understanding the dynamics of the traffic that goes in and out of there, especially during this Easter holiday, how is that border then being mended with all the damaged gaps that are there in terms of the security threats that it poses?
Well, that is managed by the Border Management Authority, which is the responsible authority for managing all points of entry in the country, with the support of relevant department. And why we went there was also to ensure that all those departments that are operating at the border gate are having all facilities they need. And most of the facilities, including water, pollution facilities and all, should be delivered by public works and infrastructure. So we want to interact with them as to whether they are satisfied and all plans are in place. But this is not just a visit. For us, it is a program of ensuring that all points of entry in South Africa, all points of entry are equipped with the standard that is of with an appropriate standard as our client departments would expect.
So it's an intergovernmental effort, and not only that, but it's also somewhat of a cross-border collaboration. We read, I'm not sure to what extent, but we read that on the other side of the border, they are engaged in some kind of modernization process. Are you equally investing on that degree of infrastructure here in South Africa so that it begins to synergize and talk to each other?
Yes, we are working on that plan, though it is still at a feasibility level, to modernize and ensure that we are highly equipped and use technology to process those who are coming in and out, but also to provide surveillance equipment. As I've said, we are in a process of engaging with defense on that process.
Minister, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on and in that intervention there tonight. That's the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Sihle Zikalala, on his oversight visit there to the Beitbridge border post in Musina and what he saw there.